All right, so our first conversation now, Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital, has been experiencing a surge in property rents in recent years. The rising cost of renting a home or office space in Lagos has become a major concern for residents, businesses, and policymakers. The increasing rent is attributed to various factors, including inflation and currency devaluation. Well, let's get a check on some of the prices so far. So if you're trying to get a new 3-bedroom flat in an area such as Ojodu, you're looking at between 2.5 million to 3 million naira, 1 year rent. Ogba area, new 3-bedroom, 2.5 to 3 million, same range. Then, I don't know if you remember the old times, Lekki Phase 1, you could get a brand new flat for about 3 million. Not so long ago, but now in Lekki Phase 1, you need to have at least 8 million to 13 million naira to get a flat to rent. You're not buying. GRA Ikeja, new 3-bedroom flat, 8 million to about 13 million naira. So these are new houses, definitely new developments. The older ones are also trying to catch up, with these prices. But let's bring in Matthew Otta now. He's the CEO of Mondile Lawyer. That's real estate advisory company. Great to have you on the show. Good morning.
Good morning, Daddy. It's a pleasure to be on the show.
Yeah, so Mr. Matthew, quite interesting prices we're seeing there for rentals in major areas in Lagos. What would you say are the main factors contributing to the rising property rent in Lagos State?
You said it all, inflation. Without inflation, we will have this issue that is not a problem. Everywhere that you're dealing with properties in Nigeria, especially, inflation has wreaked so much havoc on everything. Cost of building materials, cost of buying things, mortgage. It's also a big problem that anybody that is about to set up anything that has to do with property now, or buying a house, has to deal with high inflation. In the last 5 years, inflation concerning housing has wreaked serious havoc from 15% to 91%. Cost of housing 5 years ago or renting a house was probably affordable. Now it affects everything people are doing. Somebody buying roofing sheets, somebody buying cement, somebody buying sand. Everything has increased astronomically, and you don't expect the landlord to say, oh, because he has spent so much money, he's going to sympathize with the tenants and reduce the amount. It's not going to happen. If the government comes down on so many things, then things will be better. You're also going to look at the cost of agency fees, legal fees, people from environment, people from building plan approval, all adding money into everything the landlord is doing. At the end of the day, the landlord cannot really sustain it building a property. Somebody is buying owning a property worth 100 million naira now. How much do you expect him to make back in the next 20 years? Probably 5 million, 10 million. At the end of the day, he's going to factor all the other costs that is wreaking so much havoc on him and pass it on to the consumer, which is the tenant. And at the end of the day, we can't really do much about it until the government has that empathy to reduce the cost for so many things.
Okay, so we know it's inflation, currency devaluation, playing into these prices we're seeing. But are you sure there's no dose of profiteering in there?
There will always be profiteering. When you go to a location that is catchy, okay, let's talk about Lagos now. You want to rent a property in Lekki Phase 1. It's a high catchment area. There's so much demand. There's money on the ground. You don't expect the landlord to say, oh, I'm going to reduce my money because there are so many people interested in it. It's about putting your quota according to your size right now. Since the inflation is so bad and people are profiteering from it, you have to now shift. For example, now somebody is staying somewhere in Aja right now, in Lagos, and at the end of the day, the person is paying 2 million. And because of the way things have been in the last 1 year, the landlord will definitely increase his rent to 3.5. Always remember, anybody that is renting a property always thinks of the first year when there is money. Whether he has won a contract, betting, whether he has done something from abroad, money has come in. He has the money to pay the agents, has the money to pay the legal fees, he has the money to pay the rent. The landlord is looking at him that, oh, this person can pay for it. That tenant is not thinking of year 2. That tenant is not thinking of year 3. That, oh, what if I don't have this amount of money? How am I going to sustain it? The agents are there to cash in because they know that if this person cannot sustain it, another person that has money for year 1 will definitely pay money to get that property. But when you look at profiteering, you have to look at all the factors. people that have money from maybe crypto, people that have money from different ways, they will always splash money for year one. No matter how bad the place is. You just mentioned Lekki phase one. Somebody will have 13 million to pay for a property this month. Next year, the person is not probably going to have that money. Who do you think will cash in? It's both the landlords, the agents, the lawyers, the government, everybody. So it's a wrecking situation, and it's a ripple effect that is affecting everybody. If the government does not work or play with situations whereby they have empathy to work on certain situations to reduce the cost of all these things, such as building cost materials, their agencies going around to collect extra money, you will always have this spiraling effect of high rents. And we are talking of 2024 now. Have you thought of 2025? Have you thought of 2026? It will always go higher and higher and higher.
And it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting. We're seeing some level of stability in the FX market. We're looking at the official window. Inflation still elevated at this time. And, talking about, most of these tenants not looking at the second year payment. Once they have that first year payment, they're good at this point, because I've looked at the market. Most of the new properties, they're gone at this point, even with the high rental rate. So you've alluded to the fact that, some of these tenants, they just pay the first year. They don't care what's going to happen, in the second year. So looking at this market now, is it getting to a point where a state of emergency needs to be declared at some point with the real estate market?
Yes, a state of emergency has to be declared. Because the truth is that, I'm sorry I have to say this, the government is also involved in this crisis. Most of these big houses that you see, most of these fancy houses are owned by government officials, owned by civil servants, owned by people that have been in government. It's an opportunity for them to siphon money and invest in housing. We just heard about how EFCC sees like 700 and something houses owned by people. Who do you think they will rent it to? They will rent it to the rich and affluent. They will rent it to people that can pay for all these things. It's a way they can sustain their lifestyle after they leave government. But at the end of the day now, it's affecting everything. Do you think the same people that are cashing in on this system will be the ones that will now say, oh, we want to reduce the price? No, they are profiting from it. If they have that ability to say, oh, you know what, cost of things are so expensive, the common man cannot afford all these things. How do we do things to reduce certain things? Subsidy does not have to only deal with fuel. In UK, they subsidize food, they subsidize transportation. You can subsidize cement, you can subsidize sand, you can subsidize other things that will make an average person build a house or build to rent. But if you don't subsidize this thing, there's always going to be that ability that I must cash in. We live in a society that everybody takes advantage of another person. So when you now don't have any soft landing in any way, everybody is going to take advantage of it. At the end of the day now, people that are living in Lekki, if the money is too much, you ship to mainland, probably Egbeda. If the money in Egbeda is too much, you ship to Ajagbadi. Where your money it is, that's how it is.
So at some point, you get shifted out of Lagos. As you keep on shifting, at some point you'll be shifted out of the state, as a whole. But talking about taking advantage of people, we've seen a new trend with agents, property agents. You're looking for a property, you start talking to an agent maybe on the internet. They're asking you for 10,000 naira inspection fee. What's up with that at this point? Because you've not even seen the house, you've not even been taken to, on any tour. But the first thing they want is 10,000 naira or 20,000 naira inspection fee. Is that the way to go?
I've been in this business for almost 20 years, so I've weighed both of them. Now, this person asking you for 10,000 naira is also looking at a situation whereby I don't have money for fuel. The cost of fuel has increased. Normally, back then, they would tell you, no problem, meet me in so place. How much will it cost for them to take a bus ride to a particular place? Now, fuel is 1,000 something. And you're telling him that he should meet you in a particular place without you funding him. Where is he going to get the money if you don't rent that place? If 10 people come to him and say, okay, please come to this place and meet me, and he spends an average of 1,000 naira, 1,000 naira, and all the tenants, proposed tenants, none of them pick the place. Who is going to take that hit in his wallet? That is why they ask for it. Although it's unethical, it is not right. But you have to look at the poverty situation. You have to look at the economic situation that this has pushed them to stop thinking like rational human beings and start thinking of how to extract money to set them up. You have the professional agencies that will say no problem. The Dia Fatimemis, the Taiwos, and the rest. Those ones are big companies that have the ability to sustain any transportation shop. But a layman on the road that just started this agency business and probably has only 3,000 in his account, and you tell him, okay, come to this place, come and show me the house, you don't rent it. Come to another place, show me this place, you don't rent it. Who is going to pay for that thing? That is why they ask for it. It is very unethical. It doesn't make any sense. But at the end of the day, you have to look at it from their own point of view that inflation has wrecked their wallet. Inflation has also killed them. They cannot afford it. They cannot sustain it. So you have to sympathize with them in that situation. At the same time, you have agency regulation body that has an organization whereby they register agents and they know professional agents from the quacks or the people on the road. Most people prefer to go to the quacks on the road, the layman. Nobody wants to go to the professional because they know the professional will build them. So they rather look for somebody on the road that they can easily push around and say, show me this, show me that. So that is the reason why you have these agents asking you for this money. If you meet a luxury agent now that does not charge you anything, say, no problem, I have the car, I'll put you inside AC, I'll take you to this place. When it's time for you to pay the agency fee and the agent tells you you're paying me 5% of probably 7 million, what will you do? You can't argue because you're the one that put yourself in that situation. But you rather negotiate with somebody charging you 10,000 naira and say, okay, at the end of the day, I will give you 100,000, I'll give you 200,000. It's a catch-22 situation. So everybody is always trying to take advantage of another person.
Right.
So don't feel too sorry for them or it's hard on them. It's the situation of things on the ground.
Right. I guess it's a dog-eat-dog situation.
Dog-eat-dog situation, yes.
Right now, but we'll keep tracking this industry from time to time to see how these prices go. Hopefully, some stability at some point. But it's great having you, Matthew Otta, CEO, Omonile Lawyer. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take a quick break now. When we come back, more conversations right here on Business Morning. Just stay with us.